Hi, everybody. Welcome to Foster Friday Live. We are so glad that you're joining us, and we are so excited to be back. Today, we are bringing back Foster Friday Live after a little hiatus with Amie Cooper, and we are so thrilled to have you here with us, Amie. Amie is a foster and adoptive parent. She's a TBRI practitioner. She is the executive director of Flourishing Families. And I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself, Amie, but thank you so much off the bat for being here. We're so glad to have you.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be with you today. Thank you so much for inviting me. As you said, I am a foster and adoptive mom, still out there in the ring with the rest of you, dealing with all of the chaos of hybrid schooling, COVID-19, working a job, and parenting kids from hard places. So it's my hope that today brings some hope and healing on the horizon for other families tuning in.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And we're going to talk more if people don't know about what TBRI is. And because that's really been a part of your family story. And now you are doing the great work of bringing that TBRI, which has so much hope and healing for so many families. But we just start off. We're going to get into TBRI and some more on that. And you've got lots of ways that families can get connected to training and parent coaching. But we just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and how your family became interested in fostering. What was that decision-making process like for you?
Definitely. Well, when my husband and I were in our very early 20s, towards the beginning of our marriage, of course, we thought we could conquer the world. We were both working in school based mental health in a small rural community in Indiana. And what we noticed was some of our children and families that we worked with would come into contact with the child welfare system. And when the children would go into foster care, they would practically disappear from our community, and we wondered what was going on. So as we looked into it, we realized there was a drastic shortage of foster homes in our small community. And we thought, we have an extra bedroom, we have room, why not? So that's really how we started out. We opened our home to become foster parents and very quickly went from 0 to 5 kids in about 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. Now, what were those early days like for you? What do you remember most about kind of those, you know, first for that first year of adding one and then two and then five kids?
Well, it was definitely really exciting. We were always had something going on. Our house was very busy and full of noise. And I mean, we really enjoyed bringing our kids into our family, and our hope was to, work towards reunification. But it became pretty clear pretty early on with our we had an infant that came into our family first. About 6 months later, our teenage daughter joined our family after being in a residential treatment facility, and about 6 months later we had elementary age siblings come. And then shortly after that, found out the plan would become adoption for all of our kids, all 4 of our kids, and then we became pregnant. So
Wow.
it was like one big milestone after another, combined with honestly a lot of hurting and a lot of grief and loss. And we thought, we had lots of experience being in the mental health background and working with families. And we came from, both of us pretty solid families, 2-parent homes where there hadn't been major trauma or disruption. So we thought we were pretty equipped to parent our kids and help them heal. But very soon realized that we were in way over our heads and just felt really desperate, honestly.
And I know that feels so lonely because I have been there too, but I think that the truth is that is a very common experience for new foster families, feeling overwhelmed, feeling unprepared, or at least underprepared.
Yes.
Feeling surprised by some of the twists and turns. And there's no one story that is a normal fostering story.
Mhm.
It is rather unusual for all four your first placements to go to adoptions, but um, tell us a little bit more about some of those ups and downs and kind of where that led you.
Absolutely. Well, we really struggled with just being bewildered, honestly, with some of the behavior of our children. A lot of lying for what seemed like no reason, inability to follow simple instructions. A lot of it seemed like up and down. So there would be times where we felt really connected and like things were going well. And then it would be like there would be this eruption of emotions and behaviors and tantrums. And we would just be really confused by that. As soon as we thought we saw progress, we would feel like it all fell apart. And not just for one child, but it seemed like all of our children and ourselves as parents. I feel like I was doing a lot of yelling. We were trying harsher and harsher punishment, discipline. If we thought if we could just be firm enough and have enough structure, and our kids could see that this was the way things should be done, that they would get with the program. But honestly, it just left us feeling pretty desperate, to the point that after our adoptions were finalized, we finally reached out for help. We reached out for post-adoption services, and that's where we came into contact with TBRI, trust-based relational intervention. And we felt like, how did we not know this before? We finally had some type of insight into how trauma affected our children's brains and bodies and behaviors, and all the way down to their core belief systems about who they were and what the world around them was about. And then we were able to see that our children were operating from a totally different worldview than we had thought before.
So the TBRI and trust-based relational intervention, that was brand new to you. And I think it's probably either brand new or relatively new to a lot of our foster families that are tuning in. Can you tell us a little bit, kind of the ground level, what is TBRI and why is it such a critical resource for foster families?
Yeah, absolutely. So TBRI stands for Trust Based Relational Intervention, and it is an attachment based and trauma informed approach to caring for children from hard places that have experienced harm, abuse or neglect, abandonment, various adverse childhood experiences. And it was founded by Dr. Karen Purvis and Dr. David Cross out of Texas Christian University's Institute for Child Development. And it really looks at the child as a whole. It's a holistic approach. So it's not simply a discipline strategy or a one facet. It looks at the whole child, and it looks at the three main components, which are the connecting principles. So connecting and attaching with your child and understanding what that attachment may look like coming from a hard place for that child. And also looking at your own attachment style, because we all have one and we're all affected by our own histories as parents. And so it's a lot about becoming mindful and recognizing what we bring to the table as parents. And then the second principles are the empowering principles. And that looks a lot at the child's needs physically, nutritionally, and in the environment. We look a lot at children's sensory needs and how their brains and bodies receive that sensory input a lot of times differently because of early experiences they've had, and how we as the parents can help influence the way our children feel empowered and have choices and have that sense of felt safety that sometimes they're lacking because of that early harm. And then the third set of principles is the correcting principles. And of course, that's usually what brings parents to the table is, how do I fix this behavior? But that's the third set of principles. And it looks a lot at teaching our children social skills and helping them learn and practice appropriate ways to respond, because sometimes those foundations of what we think are typical experiences are just not the experiences our kids have had. And then finally, we look at how do we redirect that behavior and how do we stay connected while correcting.
So let's say that a family is thinking, wow, you are talking about my family. We need this. What would be like a very elementary or a very first place to start? What would be something that you would recommend to that family that just wanted to kind of dip their toes in or learn a little bit more?
So we are offering the TBRI Caregiver Training Introduction and Overview modules via Zoom. And that would be my first step for a family who wants to engage with just how do I learn the basics about what all this means. And so you guys should be able to see here shortly a link to that. And we're doing it on a weeknight in the evening. Hopefully after kiddos have settled down and gotten into bed, you can do it from your PJs in your own home, not have to worry about childcare. And so we're offering that on Tuesday evenings in October. So if that works for their schedule, I think that would be a great first step. If that doesn't work, there are many other resources that you can look into. There's lots of videos that you can find from the Institute of Child Development. You can read the book, The Connected Child by Dr. Karen Purvis if you are a reader. I know many of you are. And so you can also just reach out and connect with us through our Facebook page or through our website and dialogue back and forth. Consultation with me as a TBRI practitioner that first time is completely free, and we're here to offer support. We're definitely not here just to offer a program, but we actually want to offer hope and healing to real families. And everyone on our leadership team is someone who has walked this road as either a foster parent, an adoptive parent, or a kinship caregiver themselves.
And because everything is virtual right now, and we are joining each other virtually even today, this is not your services are not necessarily location bound right now, because we definitely have families spread out all over the state and all over the country. Are
Right.
these services continue to be accessible to anyone?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just a simple registration to get connected with those services as far as that first step. But let's say there's a family that's been through introduction overview to TBRI. They've got the basics, they've read the books, they've seen the videos, but they're still wondering, how can I actually apply this with the child in my home or the children in my home? We do have parent training and coaching where we go deeper into those modules of connecting, empowering, and correcting, and help apply it to the specific children that you are caring for in your home. And so that is an available option as well. And I can provide that via Zoom as well while we're under quarantine.
I think there are a lot of parents and caregivers probably raising their hands right now and saying, like, yes, please, like, this is something I need. Because, and I don't know, maybe you can tell us a little bit more. During the pandemic and during quarantine and this transition back to school, but maybe school in a new way, is really triggering for the children and youth in our home, but also for the caregivers who are just feeling overwhelmed with the load that they are carrying. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And is there maybe even a small success story that you could share with us, of how this worked, either for your family or for a family that you've worked with?
Yeah, sure. I can think of so many, but one of the first families that I worked with doing the training and coaching, we saw a lot of growth in that child just through the parents shifting their lens and how they looked at behaviors and having some simple strategies. I know it seems very like a basic thing that you would not think would make a difference, but one thing for this child who would get very dysregulated and have trouble focusing and sitting still, even for 5-minute periods at a time, we would take breaks and practice pushing the wall. Just pushing the wall. This child had a real intense need for sensory input. And
Hmm.
so that spinning and twirling and flipping and jumping all over the house and the yard and the car was an expression of a need for having that sensory input. And so for this child, something we did frequently and practiced and modeled was taking a break and pushing the wall. And just by implementing that simple strategy, they were able to see their child be able to focus and sustain attention for longer periods of time and have eye contact and conversation and build some connection through something that you would think would not have a big impact, but it actually did.
Now, are you talking about like physically, like literally physically pushing the wall?
Yeah, pushing the wall. Maybe I can demonstrate.
Okay.
Like, but you
So not
literally
punching the wall, not hitting the wall, but just
no.
merely pushing.
Breathe in, and then as you breathe out, push the wall as hard as you can and try to move it. And especially little boys with lots of energy, they love this because you're like, come on, push harder, buddy. Come on. Can you do it? Can you push it? And it's that sustained muscle action that gives a really good sensory input to a child who's sensory seeking. And it doesn't work for every child. So, that's why I say when we do that training and coaching, I get to know your child and your family and the needs. But that was something just very simple that had a big impact on that child's ability to be focused and regulated and ready to learn.
Now, is this something that a family needs to get permission from their caseworker or anything like that before they can participate in parent coaching or that kind of one-on-one training?
So, I'm not providing a direct service to the child. I'm not providing any type of mental health diagnosis or treatment. I do not provide counseling. And so it's really a service for the parents. So, I mean, of course, you want to run something by the caseworker if you think there might be a concern, but it should not be anything where I am working directly with the child to provide any type of treatment that would need to be on a treatment plan per se, if the child's still in foster care.
Gotcha. Thanks for clearing that up.
Mhm.
So, if you had a friend that was considering foster care, and I know that you have many that are fostering, adopting, or considering foster care, you're connected to a large community. If you had a friend considering foster care, what would you tell them? What would be some of the initial things that you kind of told them to prepare them for kind of the journey that they're starting?
Well, there's two things. The first thing is find out about trauma and attachment and parenting strategies that work for children from hard places before you bring your first child home. I think everyone on our leadership team and that has gone through TBRI training with us who's already had a child in their home from hard places has said, wow, I really wish I knew this before.
Mhm.
Because you can feel some regret and some shame knowing some of the things you did hoping to help your child might have actually hurt them or given them a deeper sense of shame or trauma themselves. And that can be a hard place. So I would say learn about it in advance so that you can start out from a better foundation of just understanding your children that you'll be working with in your home and that may be in your home for a short time or may stay forever and become adopted like some of our kids have. And
Yeah.
the second thing is get yourself connected to other foster and adoptive and kinship families. There is nothing like having a supportive community who understands you in a way that you really are going to need when you go through hard times. And unless you're walking this journey yourself, it's really hard to understand some of the feelings and experiences or even the joys to really understand the depths of the victories, like pushing a wall. Like some families are probably going to be like, okay, so your kid pushed a wall today 3 times, good for you. But for those of us who have experienced the power of something so simple, it's just really rewarding to have other foster adoptive families to walk with and to have a sense of community. One of our beliefs is that families flourish in connected community. And so we want to help families get connected to others so that they have the stamina to keep going.
I know that that has been especially true for me, that our fostering village, our community, our tribe of people, whatever you want to call it, has definitely made the world of difference
Mhm.
in feeling like we can continue to foster and foster well.
Right. Absolutely. Us too.
So, our last question, and this is one of my favorite to ask. So, your answer can be silly, sweet, sincere, serious. But what has been one thing that has made the biggest difference in your foster care journey, either right now or all times? Something that just kind of has saved your life.
Well, I've already talked about TBRI, so I'm not going to be cliche and say TBRI, even though that is huge. Honestly, it's Mr. Cooper, my husband.
Oh,
I always say he is the secret sauce. Not only did we have those first 5 children, But we, after we moved to South Carolina, started fostering again and have adopted again. And at one point in time, even had 10 children in our home briefly. And
Wow.
right now, our total is 8, and we're going to stay there. We're not going to add any more, but just he is just rock solid. And just having him and keeping our marriage strong and not forgetting one another's needs has been really important. And I know many foster parents are single parents, and so it may not apply to them, but for those of you that are married, I would just say, like, hang on tight to that spouse of yours and remember how valuable they are, because there are some things that can happen in this journey that can really shake your foundation as a family, and you're going to need each other.
Well, and I am just checking in on our live video on Facebook, and I think that this is just really connecting with people and they're really responding. I think so many can relate to that feeling of feeling overwhelmed and just really desperate for resources and support and that person, to connect with them. So thank you so much, Amie, for all that you do and for being here with us today. Will you just share really quickly how someone might get in touch with you or
Yeah,
with Flourishing Families to kind of take some next steps?
absolutely. So, of course, you can go to our Facebook page, Flourishing Families of South Carolina. We also have a website, flourishingfamiliessc.org. And if you want to email me directly, it's Amie, AMIE, at flourishingfamiliessc.org. You can also message us on social media, either myself or our administrative assistant, Jennifer Giuliano, who's also a rock star adoptive mom, will be the one to communicate with you. So there's no reason to be concerned about opening up, because we highly value and respect your journey as a caregiver for a child in a hard place. So we just want to make sure that families know that we're a safe place to share, and we will keep everything confidential.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amie, and thank you for your time. We
Thank you
will
for having
hopefully
me.
have you back soon.
Oh, I would love it. And happy Friday, y'all. We made it.
Yes, we
Yay for
made
the
it.
weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.